Dust is all that's left of us. But only if you ever worry. While the signs were clear, they had no idea. You just get used to living.
Epic Duel Time is brought to you by Merrimack Games and Comics. Check them out on Facebook and visit their site at merrimackgames.com.
We walk the plank with our eyes wide open.
What's up, YouTube? Evan from Epic Duel Time here. I'm just taking a little break right now from editing a few Duel videos. I'm trying to get more Duel videos back out for you guys. I know I've been slacking a little bit the past couple weeks. I haven't really been able to get any good material for you guys, but I've got some decent videos coming out, so I think you'll really enjoy them. But I had probably about a year and a half ago, I'd had this theory that you could sort every forbidden card into categories, and that some of them were alike and they were banned for the same reason, and other ones were just kind of out there, and they were just outliers. And the same could be said of limited and semi-limited. There's just a little more to it. But essentially, I came up with 3 categories. And I'd said this to a few friends, like, oh yeah, that's that's kind of a neat concept, but it doesn't really do anything. But I thought, because it's ban list season time and people are speculating and getting all nervous, I thought let's talk about why things get banned rather than talk about what we want to see banned. I'd rather talk about why things get banned, and then you can take this information and turn around and say, well, does that apply? Because if you trace patterns, I think it's fair. Konami has a pretty good feel for what's being banned, gone. The forbidden list is not a particularly unjust list. So I want to talk about the 3 categories that I have. The first one is circumstantial forbidden, the second one is general forbidden, and the third one is extreme forbidden. These are pretty self-explanatory titles. I'll break down what applies to each group as I go. First one is circumstantial forbidden. The idea that the card was banned due to interactions with other relevant cards. There was too much synergy with future and current cards, or it was a preemptive ban to avoid a conflict of interest. Generally, a great example of that was Fishborg Blaster, to avoid it from getting into Cloudy and Quasar, and then later down the road, Atlanteans, which would have been kind of awful in a lot of ways. So my 5 choices, and again, there's plenty of other cards you could say apply to this concept, so I'm not just picking the ones that I think work. I just think that these are easy examples to use to trace the patterns. It's Fishborg Blaster, Butterfly Dagger Elma, Mind Master, Substitute, and Makayura the Destructor. And the reason why these 5 cards are actually circumstantial is because if not for things around them and cards and plays around them, they're not that great. They themselves do not inherently have a great effect. Fishborg Blaster outside of a water deck is pretty useless. Butterfly Dagger Elma, if not being used in a spammy draw engine with Gearfree the Iron Knight, is just a 300 equip card that you can recycle. Mind Master outside of Psychic is bad, and Substitute outside of Frogs is bad. And Makayura the Destructor, if you're not playing some sort of gimmicky trap deck, isn't going to work because you're not going to use his effect. So these cards generally, their effectiveness is based with something rather than just themselves. They're banned because of something else, or banned with something else, or banned to hit a deck, or banned to take something down. They're generally put on this list because they have too much advantage with what it is that they work with. So Fishborg was getting crazy with that Cloudy and Quasar deck, and Fish was coming back. There's all sorts of different decks that were really rising. And there's tons of water support. Cards like Salvage are crazy. I mean, you have to discard a card for Fishborg Blaster, but it doesn't matter because you're going to salvage. There's too much water support. So instead of hitting things like Salvage, they hit the real problem, which was Fishborg. Same thing goes for Psychics and Mind Master, Substitute, etc., etc. These cards just got too far. Next is General Forbidden, and these cards are banned due to overall unbalanced advantage. It's not that they're, super broken cards. They have too much advantage, and they have too much synergy with general gameplay, so there's too many things that work with them. and they're usable too often with too little cost. These cards generally apply to a lot of situations. They generally aren't situational. They're really not bad at any time. The amount of situations that they apply in is very, very broad. So I'll use my 5 examples. Here are Sinister Serpent, Sangan, Rescue Cat, Harpy's Feather Duster, and Crush Card Virus. If you give any situation that you would use one of these cards, you're going to find that it's pretty often, and it's never going to be a bad time to activate it, providing that you have the right situation for it. So Sinister Serpent, obviously, it is crazy when you combo it up with discard outlets. Things like Phoenix Wing, Wind Blast, Raigeki Break, Graceful Charity. These cards are they're saying you give to get, but Sinister Serpent says you give to get, but then you'll get me back. So you're not really giving up anything. You're just blowing up a monster or putting a card on the top of their deck, or getting 1 card back of the 2 that you discarded off the 3 that you drew. Sangan searches out way too many things, and is too easily to get out, especially recently with Tour Guide. Rescue Cat's conditions, or lack thereof, is really why it's banned. The fact that you can summon it out of the deck, use its effect multiple times in the turn, you summon any 2 level 3 or lower beast monsters, and so essentially it can be 1, 2, or 3, and it can be anything, and they can be different names, and they could be anything you really want them to be. And the condition of destroying them in the end phase, well, you're probably going to synchro them anyway, so it doesn't matter. It just allowed for too much at one time. It got to be too much. The fact that you could use Rescue Cat and then reborn it and use it again, it's just way too much. Harpy's Feather Duster, same thing goes for Raigeki, Giant Churnade. These cards aren't like, oh my god, this game sucks because of this card. Bad, but at the same time, they just do way too much, and you're not giving up enough to do it. Same thing goes for Crush Card Virus, and I think you could argue like Eradicators basically drawing that line as well. That Eradicator doesn't really balance anything, it just ruins someone. And Crush Card did that too for a while. But you just find that these cards just do too much for the amount that you're giving. I think what Eradicator's drawback is that your monster has to be 2,500 attack or higher. I think if it weren't for that, that card definitely would be ban worthy. But because of the high attack, I think it's a little... It dodges right under that line. But Crush Card was just like, oh, it has to be 1,000 or less. And you look over at Sangan and you're like, hey, this is going to be a cool combo when I'm done. So you're ruining your opponent's, hand and field while you're searching for a new card. Maybe a Rescue Cat. So, yeah, not too much fun. But generally, these cards are great. Something I didn't add into this, and I probably should have, and I shouldn't have omitted these, are the synchros. All 4 synchros that are on the Forbidden list, Brio, Trish, Goyo, and Dark Strike, they are all general Forbidden. They're too easy to go into. They're all general monsters. They do way more than they should. They're responsible for some pretty broken stuff. But at the same time, they're not, like, format game ruining. They're not responsible for ruining or damaging the integrity of the card game. So, speaking of damaging things, Extreme Forbidden. These cards are banned for overall dominance in gameplay. They've changed the entire pace of the game with little or no setup. And by the game, I don't mean like the overall game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean like when you're in a game. And they're unbalanced and deemed unhealthy for the game. These cards do way too much. As soon as they're played, you remember that they were played. They make such an impact that it changes the game state to the point of whatever that card's intention is. It doesn't play into things, it plays the things. And so I guess the best way of looking at it is the cards I pick are Fiber Jar, Delinquent Duo, Painful Choice, Imperial Order, and The Last Turn. Close runner-up would be Yatagarasu. I probably should have put that in instead of Imperial Order. But anyways, Fiber Jar is basically a reset button to a game. you take all cards on field, hand, and graveyard, and you put them back into your deck and you draw again. So basically, if your opponent's pretty close to winning, you can reset the whole game. And you can basically start over. So all that card advantage your opponent built up, they built a nice board, they've been playing really, really well, but you haven't. You've been screwing things up. You just set Fiber and you're okay. You can try again. And I don't like things that do anything close to that. Delinquent Duo, for a measly 1,000 life points, you nail 2 cards out of their hand, one of which is random. That's not fair. And that's not fun. You're basically losing 2/5 of your entire hand at any given point, sometimes 1/3, depending, if not less. If you have 4 cards, that's half your hand for 1,000 life points. That's not okay. The painful choice. Select 5 cards from your deck, reveal them to your opponent. Your opponent selects 1 card among them. You add that to your hand, and you just drop the others. Yeah. Not really the beginnings of a fair card at all. I guess a lot of people were raging about that whole Alter Reality Games pick the most powerful Yu-Gi-Oh card, that Chaos Emperor Dragon was picked over this. I see Chaos Emperor Dragon as general forbidden, seeing as it, one, requires a light and dark monster. It has a pretty decent summoning cost, but as it comes out, it generates too much advantage for the game when it comes out, but it still has to come out, so it inherently requires things to happen. So it's not entirely circumstantial, because light and dark isn't very hard to get. You could argue it's circumstantial, you could argue it's general, but it's really not extreme. Imperial Order, negate all spell cards on the field. During each your standby phase, pay 700 life points or destroy this card. I guess the problem that I have with it is that you can destroy it. So you lock your opponent, you lock your opponent, you lock your opponent. Oh, I want to play spells now. Bye. And you destroy your own Imperial Order, and then you just go off. I don't think that's in any way, shape, or form something that belonged in this card game. And I thank Konami every day for leaving this card banned. This thing shouldn't come undone. It's fine if you want to negate spells, but you need to give something up for it. Naturia Beast is bad enough as it is. The reason Naturia Beast is particularly balanced is because it's crazy hard to get into. And last turn, I feel like this isn't hard for people to understand, that a one-on-one showdown is not really how you decide a game. And if you have Jaugen the Spiritualist, you win. So, not exactly how you want to how a game should go. So these are cards that just generally do not belong as a part of a card game. They're not, memorable. You're not nostalgic. You don't think nice things of these cards. They're just mean, and they're bad. As I said, bad not in the term of like being bad cards. They're just bad for a game. They're unhealthy. They don't fit into a fair and competitive game where either player can base their plays in skill and luck. These cards are just luck. Oh, I have it, now I win. Like, that's not really, that shouldn't be how a card game works. And I know that some people feel that that's currently how the card game's working. I assure you that's definitely not the case. These cards prove that things were a lot worse. I deliberately didn't add in, and these are just some afternotes. I didn't add in Sixth Sense simply because we never got it. And if I recall, shortly after the Japanese got it, they banned it too. I didn't think it saw that much gameplay. We never saw it, so I didn't think it was worth mentioning. Obviously, it beats out Painful Choice by a landslide as to how broken that card can be. But I definitely think that it's a matter of a real. I can't say it's perspective, but looking at something clearly and saying, this is why this is, and this is why it's banned, or this is why it's not banned. This is where we ban things. Has this card gone too far? Is it damaging our meta? Is it damaging our gameplay? And that's something to ask yourselves when you're making all your little wish lists. I mean, there are cards I'd like to see hit, yes, but I don't feel any sort of bias about it. I just feel like, you know, sometimes things have gone too far, and it's like, okay, that was fun and all, but it's time to go on to the next thing. And these forbidden cards definitely prove that that is definitely how a good card game needs to grow. You can't always keep everything you want to keep. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know if this is kind of style video interests you. Different things like this, little bits of theory, looking at reasons for things and not just spouting off, you know, wish lists or facts or whatever, but looking at things in kind of a behind the, you know, looking into theories and a little more in-depth stuff. So please let me know if you guys like that stuff. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and keep dueling, America.